Hello. Hi guys, how are you? I hope you're well. I hope you're doing amazing. And I absolutely loved Mental Health Mondays for last week because my voice sounded so great. I hope you've also managed to listen into the conversation between Pearl and I discussing friendship and long-term friendship, especially the input in your life. Then we also did a little fun game and I hope you enjoyed that as well. If you haven't, please go and keep up or rather catch up. So that was 1. 2, if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow us on across all social media platforms so you're able to get the gist and the gist of what's been happening. We also do put the podcast on our YouTube platform. We used to do a visual one, but now it's just audio, but you can listen in on your way to work, running an errand, wherever you don't need to use your phone actively, and just have the YouTube app open. Yeah, choose us. Anyway, my name is Lisa Kanyamuzi, and this is Conversation with Kanyamuzi. So throughout this month, I've been making up for the May that I couldn't record because I was in the guts. I was in the gutters. I just wanted the month to finish so that I can know that this too shall pass, and it did pass. But really, my mental health was fighting for a living, breathing chance throughout the entirety of that month, and I'm so glad I got through it. And it's not something that's really messing with me right now. And I have just shared a couple of mental health disorders that I live with on a daily basis. I shared of seasonal depression. I shared of anxiety, and that one. I feel like there are seasons where it's worse than others, because there are times when I wake up and my heart is just it's praying for a fighting chance because the anxiety is going to finish me. And then the final one that I deal with actively is what they call the attention deficit / hyperactivity disorder, so ADHD. Now, you guys can go and do your own revision, but I actually didn't know it existed, and I was diagnosed after a couple of therapy sessions where my therapist is just like, why don't you take this test, because there are a couple of things I'm seeing in your pattern and your life that I think, take this test. So when they diagnosed me, the first initial feelings were fear. I remember calling Noel and I remember calling Paul, and I was just like, guys, I have a mental health disorder, because it was I knew about anxiety, I knew about depression, but I was just this is extreme, guys. This is all because of stigma and lack of knowledge. Right now, I remember when I told my dad about my ADHD, which was a couple of weeks ago. He says so can you get married? For him, he thought it was just the craziest. Wow, that's a wrong one to use, but he thought it was the wildest thing to have when I shared it with him. But yeah, so I have ADHD, and I didn't know, but it made so much sense when I was diagnosed and when I started learning how to manage it, that I've had ADHD all my life. First of all, attention deficit. I don't know if you if you have met me as an individual, you cannot really see it in my work, but I see it because I hold the diagnosis. It's there'll be months where I'll just be over, I'm so into what needed, and then there are months where I'm just okay, it's so great. I remember a year and a half, if I had not diagnosed as ADHD, I would actually have closed Obonide. I realized a year and a half into owning the business that I'm just it's boring. I don't want to run this anymore. And that's just how people with ADHD act. Our attention spans are so limited, and it even affects my relationships. I'll be so hyper focused on a gentleman. I'm just I need you. It's you or I'm going to die. And then I'll have them, and I'm okay. So what I like is chaotic, challenging scenarios, and if it's not, I'm just that's nice. You're so nice. That's great. Fantastic. Or another way it has shown up, my attention deficit will show up is for example, when my best friend was in town or when my brother was in town last year and this year, I would be I'm seeing you today, I must see you today. And then my attention, I remember when my best friend went back, I didn't call her for some, I think 2 weeks. I was just okay, We spent so much time, like we're talking, but I'm just like, okay, I miss you, bye. Or with my brother, like I think 5 months. Like I'll talk to him, but I feel like he loves phone calls. I'm just like, okay, but I already saw you. And that's genuinely also how all my other like long distance relationships work. If the other person doesn't put a lot of effort, it's very easy for the relationship to die. And it's not even intentional. It's just that my ADHD shows up in a way that, like, if you're so far from me, it's very easy for me to forget. I don't forget that you exist. It's just that I forget that it is important in interacting with you. So I just feel like you're far. But let me tell you, as soon as you tell me you're in Kampala, I will make time to see you at least twice, thrice over 3 weeks that you're here. But like a phone call, check your far. So like, what does a phone call change? Like, okay, so I've updated you in my life, and and it's actually something that happens to a lot of people that have ADHD. Or, for example, one of the things I found a real problem with while I was doing my 9-to-5 corporate jobs, which I started this year. I don't even know why I did 2, knowing I have ADHD. Like that's how you know you're mad. But then with like ADHD, it's and then also I choose to do 2 9-to-5s, and they're 2 very structural jobs because I'm in charge of people. And for me, like following up, my supervisor had an issue following up on this. I'm just like, I have forgotten, because my attention doesn't have space for that. I have actually forgotten that I was supposed to run that program this week, and it's an honest. Like, it's not even an intentional mistake, or like doing paperwork, like having to put things in files, and I'm just like, guys, can I pay someone on part of my salary? Like, is it a breach of contract if I pay someone on a part of my salary to be able to do that work? And then like things in Google Files, or like create like monotonous activities. Like if I have to create a rate card or send an email, like I have to send an email every day. Like let me tell you, I have suffered. And this is all ADHD, and I didn't know how actively it affects my life, because I feel like there are people who like structure is so easy to them, or just following routines and just creating databases and doing the same thing Monday to Friday. Like it's so easy for them, and I'm just like, I'm dying. Right now I'm dying. Like even when I had to run or when it's like every day, I must do this thing every day. So it became very easy for me to start up things that were needed, and like, oh, we have a photo shoot, we have this, let's do the same. And I'm not being continuous about it, because I'm just like, when things are so continuous, they are boring me. And that's why I said, you know what? Yeah, you can solve the problem. Hire someone to do the day-to-day things, and you can think of like the bigger pictures. But even with the bigger pictures, you have to, like, for example, we launch clothes, but for a long time people knew us for head wraps and bracelery. So even now that the clothes have been in circulation for like over 6 months, there's people that attach to our brand, and I have to like go through processes where I'm thinking through, how does this work? How do we market? How do we grow? How do we make sure this is also making money? How do we put it for value for time? And it's really hard for ADHD. So it's a very interesting process, something that I'm learning and working through. I honestly did not think that there would be a point in my life where I would find a mental disorder that actually works actively in my life and affects everything, guys, from my relationship with my parents, my relationship with my family, my romantic relationships, my work, my businesses. Like it I can't explain, guys. People with ADHD are actually strong. It enters every part of my being, and it's not like there's no off days. Like every day I wake up with ADHD. Every day it manifests in my life. Every day I am less productive. Every day, and it's so bad when you're a perfectionist and then you have ADHD, because like the days where there's nothing you can do. Like your attention has refused to show up, and you have work to do. So what has worked for me? 3 things. The first thing is routine. I don't follow it often, but when I do, at least we have 1 good week out of the 3. And honestly, going to the gym is one of the things that is actually helping me discipline my mind, and hopefully by next year I'll be much, much better at discipline. But really it is routine. What I realized when I was just working like self-employed and like a content creator, no one's gonna check me, boo. But having like a supervisor and having a work routine and people's expectations of how I'm supposed to deliver to a job is really placing me in a place where in 3 years, when I want to run my businesses and run my organization, I would have built how to work around my ADHD in a professional way. So that's 1. 2, schedules. I don't like to mess with my schedules. It's really messing with my friends because I'm just like, if you haven't told me on Monday that you're going to see me on Saturday, you're not going to see me on Saturday. It's just because I've already planned things for that. Like today I'm shooting this on Tuesday. I know what I'm gonna do on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you assume that because you've told me and you're my friend and I've told, like, I'm going to make time for you, no, it's not, because then it's going to mess up the entirety of the other plans that I have to do that day. If I wanted to sleep in and then now I have to have a breakfast appointment with you, and then that's going to mean that I'm going to be very drained around 2-3 p.m. So whatever I wanted to do in the afternoon has now been compromised. It doesn't make sense. So I hope people really take time to understand that. And that's 2. And 3, it's actually now creating times for us, because the thing with ADHD is there's going to be hours where you just sit and you're doing nothing because you're so overwhelmed by the things you have to do, and it's horrible. It's the worst. But what I do is, I know it takes me an hour to get ready, but then also with knowing my attention is going to fluctuate on the getting ready, I will say if I need to be somewhere at 8, I'll be up at 6. It's the worst because I could have slept for another hour, but yeah, I'll be up at 6. I'm getting into the car by 8, so that if I have to press my phone for 30 minutes in between that, if I have to sit in the bed and just do nothing, if TikTok just takes away my attention, and I act I will see myself, how it's like an outer body experience. I'll see myself wasting time, but there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. Or also, another thing is just stop the procrastination. If I have to send an email, just send it now. Don't say I'll send it when I settle down. I will be driving and I'll actively send an email. And this is so bad, but I actually can't drive well just paying attention to the road. The chances of me getting into an accident while driving and only paying attention to the road are much higher than me just pressing my phone while driving. Because at least then, because my attention cannot be in the road alone, I will space out and I'll find myself in a wall. This has happened before. Okay, not a wall. I just drove over pavement. That was fun. I am a danger to myself on the road. But yeah. Anyway, I really hope it never gets to a point where I have to take active medication for it. But it might get to that point at some point. I just want to shout out to everybody, not shout out really, just send a message of support to anyone who's struggling with mental health, struggling with anything that, just affects how they deal on a day-to-day basis. This too shall pass. It may not pass, but you'll get through it. Imagine you've gotten this far, you'll get through it at the end of the day. Thank you so much for listening to Mental Health Mondays on Conversations with Kanyomozi. My name is Lisa Kanyomozi Robani. Please come back again on Wednesday so you can listen to me and my best friend talking about friendships and romantic relationships. Bye-bye.